It's not going to be easy to do the energy stuff today, but let's try. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 137 of the longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast in the world. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please let me remind you to like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the DNVR Sports YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets podcast channel. The audio version is perfect for your commute or to make your office/home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCuk, just like my Sicko tier supporters Peter Plummer and Daniel Lynch. Patreon supporters get access to ad-free shows and will get exclusive material from my second trip to Denver in less than 2 weeks. Can't wait. Okay, let's quickly recap the week behind us. First, the Timberwolves regular season finale. Just as I thought this game would tell me everything I needed to know about the Nuggets before the playoffs, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter were late scratches. Minnesota was also missing Naz Reid and Dante DiVincenzo, but come on, let's not put those two in the same conversation. Anyway, Joker did what he always does when he has little shooting power around him, but more on that in a second. The Nuggets started great, had a 15-point lead after 8 minutes of the first quarter, not only matched but exceeded the Wolves' physicality, but after that they let what they've been letting all season, a bunch of wide-open three-pointers per minute to get back in the game. At the midpoint of the second quarter, Michael Malone decided to go all in, put Joker back in the game, and never took him out afterwards. Both the second and the third quarter were underwhelming, but the fourth started with a great Nuggets run, turning a 5-point haul into an 11-point lead. After that, Minnesota woke up and with 2 consecutive step-back threes from Ant, got up 2 points. The Nuggets missed wide-open threes, but Christian Braun took one for the team and forced an offensive foul from Ant. On the next possession, Joker not only tied the game, but also fouled out Gobert. Overtime. After 3.5 minutes, the Nuggets found themselves in a 6-point hole, but our 2 best shooters, Jokić and Gordon, both made threes. Joker then missed a paint shot, and when it looked hopeless, Brown made a miraculous steal and gave them another chance with 20 seconds to go. Joker routinely tied it up, and we went to overtime too. Joker and Aaron were scoring per usual, and the game was tied with 18 seconds to go. Not the final sequence. And I know you don't want to live through it, but it's kind of my job to remind you. Joker had 2 more free throws. He made 1. Westbrook stole the ball from Edwards, sprinted to the basket, and missed the layup. On the other side, Edwards found Nah in the corner. Russ closed on him hard, just a tad too hard, according to the refs. So the Nuggets killer Walker had 3 free throws with 0.1 seconds to go. He made the first 2, and that was all she wrote. Oh, I forgot to mention Aaron Gordon had 38 and 5, and Jokić had a 61-point triple-double. Poor Zeke Naji was minus 17 in 11 minutes played. Next, the Spurs game. After sustaining a heartbreaking 2 overtime loss to the Wolves, the Nuggets decided to rest all of their starters on the second night of the back-to-back. The motley crew the Nuggets had for this game is a nightmare for any decent tanking team. They just can't tank a game against the starterless Nuggets. And this is not a slight against these dudes. They played hard. Russ had a 30-point double-double. Pickett had his first NBA triple-double. But the reality is nobody in the league has a weaker group of 6 through 15 than the Denver Nuggets. It's by design of the former front office, but it also shows the front officing style of the current one. Anyway, the Nuggets found themselves in a 20-point hole against the Wemby-less, De'Aaron Fox-less 13 seed in the West. But they fought back, possession by possession. It took them from the middle point of the second quarter to early in the fourth, but they finally got the lead. After a couple of Vlatko's threes and an offensive rebound by Tyson, they were up 5 with 10 minutes to go. Unfortunately, 36-year-old Russell Westbrook played for 40 minutes in this game, so he went out of gas and shot 0 of 4 in the fourth quarter. 0 points after having 30 in the first 3 frames. People will point out bad decision making, but that is very related to fatigue. Remember Jokić shooting a ton of threes in that game 7 versus Minnesota. Sorry about that. My heart stopped for a moment too. Lastly, last night, the Warriors game, the Nuggets started well and had a 10-point lead after the first quarter, but make no mistake, it wasn't because they played good defense. It was because they made 71% of their field goals. Jokić goes out to take a breather, and the reserves, led by Michael Porter and Russell Westbrook, immediately caught up the lead. Jokić came back, but the momentum was already on Golden State's side, and it never came back. Nikola was visibly frustrated. The Warriors were daring many guys to shoot the threes, so much so that we had a sequence when Nikola shot 5 threes in a row. He did make 3 of them, but the home team's lead was never in question. Even though it was never more than 17 points, it was a full-blown blowout of the Nuggets. Aaron and Christian were particularly bad on defense, but this game was lost on the offensive end. They scored just 61 points in the last 3 quarters, and Nikola's 33-point somber double was not a great consolation. Okay, it is time to introduce my guest for today. I started this podcast on January 6th, 2022 to try and convey how a relatively reasonable Serbian fan views everything around the Nuggets. I absolutely couldn't have pulled that off if I didn't have mountains of help from my former co-host. He is the only super fan of both Nikola Jokić and Anferni Simons in the world, a university professor-level smart dude who is also a doctor of a long mid-range shot, calling from the mecca of hipster coffee places, Portland, Oregon. It's Voja Medić. Welcome back, Voja. I cannot hear you.
Of course. It's been a while. I'm rusty. Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me. Mecca of hipster coffees.
That's right. I'm
First time from Portland.
I'm basing that on one episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Frank Armisen, who resides in Portland. So I don't know. It might be true, might not.
It's a fair assessment. It's a fair assessment.
Good. I'm glad. Yep. So tell me, what is a better experience watching the NBA, from the Central Time Zone where you used to be in Nebraska, or in the Pacific Time Zone?
I think it's probably Nebraska, probably because it's just more later in the day, so you can catch them. A lot of the games I miss because of work, I just get back. I have late meetings sometimes, and I think I missed fully the Minnesota game. I had to replay it.
Yeah, but are you actually missing a Nets versus Orlando game?
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
Fair, that's true.
Last but not least, a former Seattle resident, and in my mind, Seattle is close to Portland. Please don't burst my bubble. He is a Denver stiff since forever, my top 3 podcasting voice and podcasting mind of all time, and somebody I enjoy talking to about anything. Calling from Colorado Springs, it's Gordon Gross. Welcome back, Gordon.
Yeah, and it's about 2.5 hours from Seattle to Portland, Miroslav. So you're not wrong. It's in West Coast spatial time, that's pretty close. On the East Coast, you could cross 4 states, but in the West Coast, that's pretty close.
It's a one-day trip. You can just do.
Yeah. You just do it in an afternoon. It's not a big deal.
2.5 hours. Yeah. I guess that is close in America terms. It's almost the biggest distance you can cross in Serbia, though. But
right.
That's a whole different story. Well, we actually have some pretty bad roads, so we need 5 hours
more time. Yeah,
to certain places, but it's not really distant. But it is what it is. Let me ask you something, Gordon. One of the places I did not see last year when I was visiting Colorado is Colorado Springs, and the place where Nikola Tesla's laboratory once was. Sell me on visiting that historic site.
There's a little plaque in a park 5 minutes from my house that says this is where Nikola Tesla was. There's nothing there, man. You can come look, and there's a cute little plaque, but no, there's nothing around for that. It's a beautiful town, but yeah, there's unfortunately nothing remains of where he had his little lab.
Yeah, I guess I will have to find a good barbecue spot, and that will make
That'll have
that
to make it
trip
happen. Yeah.
very very worthwhile. Okay, guys. So first of all, I apologize on behalf of the Nuggets for the horrible week they gave us just when you are on the show. So now we have to process all that. Let's start with the Warriors game, though, before we get into the weeds of the current state of the Nuggets. The Nuggets started great, scored 43 points in the first quarter, but he had only 61 in the following three. Joker was frustrated on the bench more so than at any point of this season, maybe ever. The beginning of the second quarter really turned the tide on the game. Russ has been very chaotic for the last several games. And the other leader of that backup unit, MPJ, has the ball poked out of his hands every time he tries to dribble, at least against a defense like the Warriors one is. What was your big takeaway from that game? Let's start with Voja.
Big takeaway. The Nuggets, as we said earlier, they're missing the point of attack defender, and the rust thing that's been happening in a like last weeks or so. It's mostly that happens when the rest of the guys aren't up to par, and so Russ has it just comes out of him that he feels like he has to do more than he should for the Nuggets to succeed. So they're not good enough right now. Is my big takeaway.
Yeah.
What do you say, Gordon?
So it's not even just that they're not good enough. It's that they don't care enough. And that's my bigger concern. Like, you're getting outworked by other teams, consistently outworked, consistently outhustled, consistently you fail to make defensive rotations or grab rebounds, or these things are effort plays. Like trying to make, dive on the floor for a loose ball was an effort play. And I don't like to confuse the grit and hustle plays for real basketball, but they still show you something about your team. And if your team is never getting, floor burns from diving on the ground, and they're never, they're consistently jogging up and down the court, either you're all injured, which is possible. Every one of the starters has been out with injuries this year. It's not like they have been healthy. We've had MPJ dealing with a hamstring. We have Jamal now dealing with a hamstring. Joker has a litany of injuries, including the foot. Aaron Gordon's been monitoring the calf all year. Christian Brown missed time with injury. You've got Russ. And my big concern about Russ is that they did the same thing to him that they did to Reggie Jackson last year, which is to overplay him early because your guys were injured and you ran out of gas on the vet, who now is running on fumes and like Voja said, takes too much. He's trying to do too much, take too much on himself to do things that he at this point in his career cannot do. You're asking a guy who's been in the league for what is it, 16 years for Russ now, to be a 6th man of the year on a minimum salary. That's what you want from him. That's what you're asking him to do, and you're asking too much. That should never have been his job. And by making him do all of that for the first 65 games of the year, the last month has not looked good at all. And that's unfortunate. That's another catastrophe that the design of this team is bringing up.
At the beginning of the season, the Nuggets had a problem because they started the games very slowly. Right. They did not get the advantage of the first quarter as they did in the previous years. And the reason for it is because Michael Malone was trying out a new scheme where he was only playing Joker for 10 minutes or 9 minutes of the first quarter, and then he would sub him out. But when he saw that's not working at all, he then just turned it into full 12-minute quarters for Joker, and then things got better. Nowadays, we've seen both games against Minnesota and game against Golden State. They started really, really strong, but they just couldn't keep up with the opponent. Now, granted, you might say they had a really good effort against Minnesota because they did not have neither Jamal or Michael Porter in that game. But still, against Golden State, you had a 10-point lead that just evaporated in the matter of minutes and just came back to the, I want to say, 2022 settings, reset it to 2022 settings. And that's not a good sign, because this team does not appear to have better vibes than that scrappy team, I might say, from 2022.
Yeah, that was. I mean, my stance on that team. That was one of my favorite seasons to watch, just because of you knew that the team wasn't going anywhere. They did not care, and like even though they probably knew it, they're like, okay, we're still gonna play our butts off and do something. And close enough, honestly, like that 4-1 was like close enough with the eventual champs. But at least that team, as Gordon was saying, like they were scrappy. I mean, as much as grief Campazzo gets and Austin Rivers and everything, they played hard. Like, and Monte's a plucky guy always. I don't know. This feels like just after winning a title, it's kind of. I wonder like how psychologically is what it takes once you do it, and so like when you don't have it, like I wonder if they just like kind of drop their hands, and they're like, okay, maybe this year we don't have it. Again, the thing with the West is like you're expecting him to be sixth man of the year on a minimum, when in reality that like salary distribution should be distributed as far as who's good, right? So like if Zeke's your fifth or sixth most paid guy on the court, you're expecting that role to be filled with your sixth man of the year, and then Russ is your seventh guy to like pitch in and so on and so on. Like not expecting like he was a starter. And the weird thing this year to me, the weirdest thing is when they're all healthy, the starters are all healthy, their record isn't great, which is then for me points to the lack of roster construction on the back end of the roster. Because yes, like of course Peyton Watson and all these guys can play well enough to play with Jokic, but then like if they're not good enough when like Gordon's not playing, or when they're winning more when Gordon's not playing or MPJ's out, and then you put them together, you're supposed to be stronger and they're not. Like something doesn't add up there. Like something is off either in the Malone who he trusts, or who the player trusts, or the actual players that were put on the roster in their capability to be good. Not playing with Jokic is another thing too.
Yeah,
and
last
so
night,
that was worries me, like this year too.
For sure. And last night, against the Warriors, they put Russ as the sixth man. They put him on the bench. He did not start because they wanted to make sure that they had enough point guard coverage for the bench time without Jokic. So they started Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Jokic. Blew the doors off in the first quarter. But not defensively. You have your best three defenders on the court, and you couldn't stop the Golden State Warriors from scoring 34 points. Then, when things got tougher, none of those defenders showed up. There was no defense really played the next three quarters. Golden State got what they wanted. They took their three-point shots. You weren't really denying them or hassling the ball handler, or, again, as we said, we didn't have a point of attack defender all year. We haven't had that since KCP. But I mean, that's the problem you run into is if you have guys who are niche guys who are required to do certain things, like Peyton Watson's job is defense, then he should probably be good at defense. But he's not good at defense. He's good at blocks and recovery and other things. But the Nuggets as a whole are not good at stopping the first thing that the opponents want to do. So you're just saying my first thing that I want to do is going to beat your first thing that you want to do. And I don't think that's necessarily the best recipe for playoff success, because at some point, other teams will figure out how to scheme you out of the best thing that you want to do, which is what the Warriors did to the Nuggets by going box and one on Jokic and just breaking out the zone and saying, we don't care. We're going to devote as many resources as we need to devote to making sure that guy does not put up 60 on us. And then what else have you got? And the Nuggets said, we don't have anything else. We had plan A and we don't have plan B. And the Nuggets failing to have plan B for the whole year is very, very frustrating, regardless of who's on the court, right? Like, I understand that Jamal's, lack of Jamal means you have a lack of a point guard creator and volume scorer. That definitely causes you problems. He's your second best player. Obviously, it's a problem. But the fact that even without him, that the Nuggets couldn't step up and play defense, because defense is not Jamal's calling card. Like, if you're going to do something without Jamal and you're going to do it better, it should be defense. Especially when he's injured and his legs aren't working right, because that's hard to play defense. And they didn't have it last night at all. They couldn't slow down what Golden State wanted to do the last 3 quarters in any way. And honestly, they didn't look like they wanted to. They didn't look like they wanted to try that. And again, it was 3rd and 4 nights for a lot of guys. Not the starters.
But Warriors also on a back-to-back. But Warriors also on a back-to-back and veteran players too. Yeah.
Right, and the Warriors have come off of a long road trip onto a back-to-back. If
and
anybody
they're
had
old.
to be tired and old would be the Warriors, and they were not. And that's why I don't particularly enjoy those excuses of, well, it's a long season and, well, we're tired. I don't care. Like, this was important for seeding. You needed this game. Like, what are you doing? Why is the focus not there? And that's my frustration.
You guys have made so many good points, and we have to take a break now. And I'm going to try to remember all the good points and get back to them. But we'll do that right after these important messages. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so I'm skipping a bit. I wanted to do this in the 3rd segment, but since Gordon mentioned it, I have to jump right into it. Gordon, you said that the Nuggets don't have the plan B. Last week, I had another Serbian brother in Superstar Dev on the show. Go back and watch that show. It was great. But I also had a couple of Calvin Booth believers in Ray and Patrick, and I thought we had a very good conversation, admittedly with a lot of coping, at least from my side. It was my best effort to put the positive spin on this hell of a season, but not today, buddy. You guys have a slightly different opinion on what Calvin Booth did, and I will admit I'm a bit impatient when it comes to my teams. I don't want to wait for 2 or 3 gap years before my team is capable of making a big flashy move again. Serbia did not win a gold medal since 2002, and trust me, every summer since has been a hell for me because I'm still waiting for that. By the way, they might get to it this summer if the Nuggets flame out quickly, but I digress. You said, Gordon, they don't have a plan B. Is that more of a coaching issue or a roster construction issue?
Yes. But that's the problem is that from a roster perspective, Calvin Booth put a bunch of untested old rookies onto this squad with guaranteed deals. And we all know that Malone likes guys who know what to do. He doesn't want to have to teach you the basics. He doesn't want to have to, go through and say, what do you mean you don't know how to box out? What do you mean you can't, go ahead and run a zone defense? Why am I having to explain this to you? And so in theory, getting older players from college, so they're not teenagers like Zeke Naji was when he came out, in theory, I understand that. But in actuality, there are a bunch of tweeners on this roster who can't fulfill a role that Malone would want them to fill immediately. And so they don't become trust guys. And so they don't get in the rotation. And so guys get overused every year. So the rotations are shorter than they should be because Malone doesn't trust guys because he wasn't given guys that are good at any particular thing. Like with Monte Morris, he was really good at protecting the ball. Like no matter what, the great thing about Monte Morris is he could run a bench defense and he could protect the ball. He still didn't play his rookie year. He had like 40 minutes of game time or something. Like, and
He was
so
in G League. Like he was a G League
yeah,
guy. They won the G League, and then he came back the next year. And the idea was to have Isaiah Thomas as a backup, but Isaiah was like not healthy enough. And there's like, okay,
yep,
we have Morris. Let's see how he does. But and
right,
that's the like, and I agree. That's the idea with like that was supposed to be the idea with Pickett. The problem is
yep,
at what times. Like Monte grew with like the veteran guys on that second unit. They had them more because of like contracts that have more
right,
flexibility. But you get 3 young old rookies on this and the same year is a problem.
yep,
It's like it wasn't if he spread them out. So like, oh, you draft Pickett 1 year and then the next
right,
year he kind of develops into like a rotation. The next year you get Strother and you wait for them. Like you get 3 guaranteed contracts and you count in obviously like unfortunately Darren Holmes and all these guys. And you're like all of a sudden like half of your roster where when the dog days of the season happen, those are the guys you're pulling in and trying to like get play time. Like a lot of teams, like it's crazy. You look at minutes in some of these teams that are even like good. Like you have guys playing in like January games that never end up like it's like they have a month to play and they're like hit a good stride and then never play
right,
again. That
right,
doesn't happen with Denver. Denver, it's like a clear. This is the guys we play, and that only like in dire circumstance is Pickett starting and like these guys are getting any shine. And then
right.
what you said, yes on them alone. Like again, he has them. They might not be great, but like there was no like there's such resistance to like I'm not even gonna try them.
Right. And
And
that's
that's
and
also
the
another
problem with
issue
not
of like
trying them, right, it is so there are multiple problems, and one of them is that Malone is not willing to try guys who don't fit what he wants. And he's not willing to wait for them to, get polished up. But also this roster was built around a lot of tweeners. Okay, so you have like Hunter Tyson that you drafted and gave 3 years guaranteed to. And he is too small to play the 4, and he's too slow to play the 3. And also, the thing he did in college was shoot, and he can't do that for you either. So,
yeah.
what would you say his role is supposed to be? And you can't really, it's hustle guy, but hustle guy is again too slow to play the 3, so he gets blown by defender by quicker wings, and he's too small to play the 4, so he can't rebound for you. So these are the sorts of players that you can't fit in. And so Malone says, I'm not going to try. And then you exhaust the players you've got, like Aaron Gordon, who needed a backup 4 who could play for him. But you have, unfortunately, we had Vlatko who was injured. Deron Holmes got injured. Zeke is, we can't talk about Zeke on this. I'm not allowed to use the words. But there are so many like places in which you spent a lot of roster spots to have 0 options, and that's really concerning. And that part is not Michael Malone's fault. Michael Malone not trusting Jalen Pickett to take the burden off of Russ, and therefore overusing Russ and breaking him before the end of the season is his problem. That because obviously you look at Jalen Pickett, he's proven this year he can play. And even once he proved it, Malone didn't put him in the rotation to get real minutes. Yeah. And so that's going back to what Voja was saying.
Yeah, it's both. It's really again frustrating because of that, and I think like for us at least, it's for me as like a fan where I'm coming into like I hate these mistakes and I'm considering them mistakes. It just goes from that stupid interview about the Project Dynasty
Yes.
and like talking about this because like then you just see the complete like missed vision there.
Yep.
Because we literally saw the same also stupid press conferences that the Warriors did with their light years. And that halted them for 2 or 3 years. The difference between them is like they had the spine of Draymond and Steph, and also the fact that they're Warriors and have Bob Myers that could swindle some deals and everything like that. But like
right.
They had like lottery years, 2 years in a row, right? Like
yes.
They could, and they even messed up too. Like they were talking about Project Dynasty, and they're still talking about Kuminga as like he's becoming the new like
right.
Caboclo. Like he's 2 years from being 2 years away kind of guy. I mean, he's obviously much better, but like they whiffed on Wiseman, they whiffed on Wagner, like even worse, like kind of misses. But again, with the margins that Nuggets have to like be good in, they draft guys and you see around the guys that were available, it's like there were some clear hey, this guy probably could be a decent Nuggets, but he trades this year's first pick. They might, if they go to the play-in, might end up being very middle of the first round, which is not bad, and it's going to OKC, right? It's JaMychal Green or someone. It's or it's actually no, it's the last year's he traded a pick for the first pick in a second rounder or something like that. And you draft three guys that, I mean, again, it's just a frustrating thing. Guaranteed deals. As much as I love Lotko, it was time, I think, for him also not to be on this team as well. Because again, if we're counting on Lotko and we're saying, oh, it's his injuries and Darren Holmes' injuries that are derailing the season, that's not great. It's not a great position to be in as a roster. If you're well, if Lotko wasn't hurt, we would have been great. That's what frustrates me, because some of these and then Šarić, again, I don't know if that was Jokic's thing, I'm on my buddy, or I'm believing in this type of play, but he was ousted in Golden State by Trace Jackson Davis pretty big chunk of the season. It wasn't it was majorly hurt, so he lost his spot. He just got out of the rotation by a better rookie that plays very similarly, and so I'm that you give him one of the most paid spots on this unflexible roster
and a player option.
And both him and Ross. I mean, now it's reports are hopefully Šarić won't accept the player optional. In Europe, but
he can't make what he makes in Europe off that deal. European players make $1 million, maybe $1.5 million.
No, they do now.
Especially at his age.
But his age and NBA experience, he might still end up with the taxes and all that counted in. He might.
There's no reason.
Time.
There's no reason for him to reject that player option. He should just sign it and wait for the Nuggets to buy him out and then sign
another deal. That's what I expect to happen.
In Europe,
that's what I expect to happen, is for him to take the player option and then reduce it by the amount that he would make in Europe and then leave. That's what I'm expecting to have happen.
As it was silly to expect Bruce Brown to sign for the Nuggets for a small deal.
Look, it's a job. Money's money.
It's similarly
for the Bruce Brown one. I always people are oh, he could have won titles again. I'm dude, it's you're talking about 10 to 20 million difference. Again,
right?
For him, it was 40 because he got the second year
both
also
years
kicked in. I mean, I'll sit on the Raptors for 40 million. That's not a problem.
Well, you mentioned the Warriors botching their lottery picks. But they also did trade for Jimmy Butler. And I keep hearing that there's no way the Nuggets can pull off a trade because all the big contracts on the Nuggets are a negative type contract. You know what? Wiggins was a negative type contract as well, and they still got Jimmy Butler. Now, I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is some kind of perfect superstar, but you know what? The Warriors are 20-2 since Jimmy went to Golden State. And I guess those kinds of deals are possible if you have a slightly different.
Wiggins was better. I guess he was on a different deal now, but I mean, as a when he was coming from Minnesota, he was what's happening with this deal? We gotta pay this guy, and it ends up being good. Again, you can say Gordon was that guy. He was pretty much in Orlando, kind of this guy can't lead a team.
Uh-huh.
But you're right. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's one of those I wish I knew, so I would stop complaining that they're not swinging any big deals. I wish I knew that they actually are getting rejected for these. But it sounds like they're not even making the calls for some of these things because they just don't want to be in the upper echelon of tax-paying franchises, and it's almost like they're kind of washed their hands off of the season, being it's not worth it.
But the problem is that they set up this season, they made the moves they did to stay in the first apron so that they could put guys together in trade. Because the difference between the first apron and the second apron is you cannot combine salaries in the second apron, but you can in first apron. So if you wanted to combine Mike and somebody else to go get a more highly paid star, you can do that in the first apron. And they've chosen not to do that while also setting themselves up to be second apron next year, so they can't do it next year either. Yeah. So we're in a whole other problem. If they decide to avoid the second apron again next year, again, the whole purpose of doing that is to be able to combine and trade So you kind of have to make the trade. Otherwise, all you're doing is saving your boss money, which is fine. The Cronkies like to save money. Like, I understand. Nobody got to be a billionaire by giving it away. But like that,
Yeah,
at
right.
some point, they have to make a choice about what kind of team they want to be. And
it goes, it goes back to, again, like right now we were saying with like their supposed flexibility. Again, they talked about not signing
Right.
KCP, and again, I'm not saying like KCP's contract in Orlando is like would have been a no-brainer for the Nuggets and they should have done it.
Right.
That would have been a big decision because they still could have had a season like this with KCP, like even with KCP on. It just, you lost him and you didn't supplement it. It was just like, oh, we're getting internal growth situation, and that could have worked like 2018. And now it's not. And again, you're saying like supposed flexibility with like all the guaranteed deals coming into the next season is kind of, and everyone, that's the thing, is now everyone's on the low end. Like no one, like no one's gonna buy stock from like Michael Porter and Jamal right now. Even as much as I love them, as like you're talking about trading, like and trying to increase flexibility, but like, oh yeah, sure, let me sign up for Jamal's like 35 games a year when he looks like an all-star for $50 million a year. Like again, maybe like you find a tanking team that just wants to fill that 90% salary cap, but you're not getting anything in return that's worth like your championship contention. And so they're kind of, they dug themselves a hole and they're kind of living in it right now.
Okay, let's take one more short break, and after that, I have one more point I wanted to make about the Warriors game, and then we'll move on. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so guys, you made a great point about the Warriors looking fresher than the Nuggets, even though they were the ones on the second night of the back-to-back, and they're so much older than the Nuggets. The main three guys are. I mean, Nikola had 6 turnovers last night, and I'm not pardoning him for all of them, but some of those were of the "what else am I supposed to do here" type. The Nuggets don't have a lot of guys that can dribble the ball confidently, so the Warriors bottled them up on offense with ease. The other playoff teams seems to build their game up close to start of the playoffs, but the Nuggets seem to go backwards. Do you think it's the urgency that is low, or is it just bad vibes? Because the Warriors look like a high vibes team, and that probably helps them with fatigue they're probably experiencing as well.
Go ahead, boy. Oh, I can't hear you.
You're muted.
I mute myself for the ads and I forget. I don't know. The vibes also don't seem great, but I think it's just a compound of everything that happened during the season. Because that opening of the season, you're thinking, okay, like they lost last year in the second round, like they're gonna come back. Like Jokić had a great Olympics, let's come in. And then you go into this Western Conference that you see right now, where like they have a danger of being an 8th seed with like 50 wins. It just feels like you have to like try so hard to just tread water, and then again, like everyone's as the comment said, like everyone's frustrated, not just Jokić. It's just that like no one's healthy, and healthy enough, and so that affects their play. And then everyone has loaded responsibilities because again, there's not a long bench. They don't have OKC's like luxury in that way too. And then it just kind of compounds to the vibes. And I'm not the fan of like, I don't like the frustrated outbursts at the bench kind of things that Jokić was doing. Obviously, like it got to him probably eventually, but as a leader, like it goes from him too. It's like when he does that, then just everyone kind of feels it. And I think it's overall just shitty now. I don't know how else to just boil it down to like a word. It's just crap.
How do you feel?
The problem that the Nuggets have is that yes, it's tough out there, but Nikola is having his best season. So if that guy is putting that much effort into it, then you need to put more effort into it. And the problem that they're having is from an effectiveness standpoint, I don't like the way their defensive coaching has gone for putting them in certain situations. I do not like how basic their offenses are and how easy they are to scheme for, especially without Nikola out there. Like, if you don't have the same kind of personnel as other teams, then you need to coach better. Like, you need to figure out how to get something out of your guys. And that hasn't happened. And so the whole year, again, has been Jokić taking everyone and raising them up on his shoulders. Now, we're about to hit the playoffs. And in the playoffs, you only play your top 7 dudes, pretty much. Certainly, that's how Malone does it. Like, other teams might play 8 or 9, but Malone's going to play 7. So, you're already looking at it's going to be your starting 5 plus Russ plus Watson. That's it. That's what you've got. That's what you're going to be putting out there. You might have a little bit of Jalen because you're not going to get Julian Strother minutes. The guy has played no minutes at all in 5 weeks. So even if he's available, even if he's finally healthy, he's not going to play. He's not going to have any ability to play. And Zeke Naji is playing himself out of the rotation. So, who's going to play? DJ? Maybe. Against a bigger squad, that'll be matchup dependent. But so you've only got 7 guys now. And those 7 guys can raise the game of each other because they know each other. But that hasn't happened all year. So you're relying on faith that in the playoffs, things will be different because the goal will be isolated. There won't be any back-to-backs. Like, guys are getting, a little bit of rest before the playoffs in Jamal's case. But it's not rest. It's trying to get healthy rest, which is, it messes up your conditioning. So we're going to see. They just played, Joker on a bad ankle for 55 minutes in a loss. Like that, You can't be doing that. Like if they had thrown the Wolves game and just deployed, Jokić in the other game, you'd have been 1-1. But they didn't want to throw the Wolves game. They wanted to try it. And they did try it. And that game, if they had won that game, the vibes we're talking about right now would be very different. And they were 1 point from winning that game on multiple occasions, and they just couldn't find the point. But that game should have been hopeful. Unfortunately, the vibes out of that game, they were so exhausted from that, it ruined 2 other games. That's bad. They don't have any margin. This team has no margin for error, and that's extremely concerning when that means the playoff experience is going to be long series because you're just not going to have the margins to clamp down close and late like they did in their playoff and championship run. They don't have the kind of clutch defense. They don't have that kind of clutch execution. They have the please save us Joker offense and the oh my God, please miss defense. And that's going to be asking for a lot in the playoffs. They're going to be deep series. So it's going to be a real challenge to go anywhere this year.
Especially how West is like, clenched together. Like,
the West is a death place.
There's no like, oh, I'm getting this easy opponent. Like, people are like begging for a Houston series where it's like, like if that's your like least favorite, like your best matchup that you'd want, like it's not a great thing because
that's not a great matchup, right?
yeah,
they're a good team.
I obviously don't have access to the Nuggets locker room. Well, I hope to have access to it in a couple of weeks, which would mean that the Nuggets actually qualified for the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
But based on what I've heard from the pressers, the biggest quote I've heard came, of course, from Joker because that man has never said a lie in his life when he's talking about the team. When somebody asked him a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, if he thinks the team has a switch to flip and become a better defensive team for the playoffs, and he said, there's no switch. Like, no. we need to play well to play well. Like, unless we start playing well, there's no magic switch to do that. And honestly, since we haven't seen it consecutively for like I don't know, 5-10 consecutive games this season, unless
Right.
they were playing really bad opponents, like in that 9-win streak earlier this year. I just have to think that the vibes are not very good. And that also connects to the fact that nobody came to Denver before the media day this year. So all those things kind of point into similar um, um, direction, that this group maybe is a bit sick of each other.
Can
Like,
I can I
I,
have, I
I
have a
don't want to
bone?
emphasize that.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
I have a bone to pick with the comments too, because like first of all, like there is a switch. They shown that there's a switch in 2023 because they started
Yeah.
the season really like 50-50 until Jamal was like healthy. They had a big run in the middle, and they really slagged on the end, like to the point of people are
Yep.
like, "This is the worst number 1 seed ever. Like they're not good. They're gonna flame out." And then just like flipped. They're like, "Oh, like they just killed everyone." That's one thing. But again, we saw some of those glimpses in like the end
They
of
show it.
games and
Yeah,
defense. Yeah, they showed
yeah.
it. And the second thing is like, as much as we love him and it's funny like how he's like honest and everything, those years he like his veteran leadership's concerned. You had Jeff Green, you had like even Bruce Brown coming in. He should not be saying some of this stuff. Like basically being like, yeah, we're not that great. Or like when we were on a 9-game winning streak, everyone's hyped, and he's like, maybe we're kind of fooling ourselves. Like when we're not playing that good of a competition. You know, like again, not a lie, but you say that pretty publicly, and everyone around you that like, you know, you already know how much he's carrying them, and they're like, okay, I guess we don't have it. Like if he says we're not going to win this year, and he doesn't believe in us, like maybe we just pack it up and take a summer. Is again, they're all professionals. They're not going to win. But again, as like a head of the snake kind of guy, like I wouldn't really say that if I was him, being like, yeah, I don't know, I don't think we got it this year.
Well, it depends on
We
how much
say
the guys
it like
trust
we're
you.
the fans.
Like, I mean, I don't feel like anybody there doesn't trust Jokić to do every single thing that is necessary. But he's also not best friends with everybody on the team. Like, that's not his vibe, and basketball is not his lifeblood. He is amazing at it, but he has other things that he's concerned with. And for the Nuggets, what they really, really need from this squad is health. And I've said that for 2 years now, is they can beat anybody if they're healthy, but they're not deep enough to beat anybody if they're not healthy. And the problem is they went into this year without playing the kids to save the health of the old guys. They brought Aaron Gordon back 3 separate times when he was too injured to re-injure himself rather than letting him rest longer because they didn't want to play Zeke Naji anymore. And they're like, no, so Aaron Gordon has to play. So he played, got hurt again, missed another 10 games. And now it's a season-long problem that he'll have to deal with into the offseason. And you're just hoping that he can give you enough in the playoffs. And this squad in the playoffs, that switch that they flip is based a lot around Aaron Gordon because he's the guy that plays the backup 5 in the playoffs. He's the guy that brings the ball up because Jamal's handle's not good enough, and they don't want Joker doing it all the time. Like Aaron Gordon sets your offense up in the playoffs. He comes off the bench as the big. He defends everybody's best player. He does so many things for this squad. In the playoffs, he is your number 2 player probably. Even though Jamal was a scoring machine, he could do that stuff because Aaron Gordon makes sure he wasn't harassed. Jamal starts playing better in the playoffs by playing every possession like it matters. Unlike the regular season when he's like, Joker will take care of it, which is what happens a lot in the regular season. So, in the playoffs, I do think there is a switch that gets flipped because they start emptying the tank, which they don't do in the regular season. But the problem is, I don't know how much they got left in the tank. So they might empty it and still go out in the first round because I can't tell what they have left to give. And we're about to find out, but I don't know right now.
Okay, let's take one more short break, and then we will talk about what we should expect and what we are hoping for. Don't go anywhere. So, Gordon, you mentioned, I mean, the Nuggets are not deep enough, so this is why they couldn't stay healthy. Like if you are
Right.
deep enough, then you have options to keep you healthy and not play, most of your guys as many thousands of minutes they need to play in Malone's system uh, last year and this year as well. All this grim talk we've had for the past hour does not mean that the Nuggets will not have a good playoff run, because they still have Nikola
No.
Jokić, who is having his best season of his career, and he has proven that he can carry a team to godly levels. It's just that he will need a running mate in order to beat an opponent 4 times out of 7 to get past the first round.
Right.
What would be your expectation and what would be your hopes for the Nuggets in these playoffs? Do you maybe have a favorite matchup for them, and is it at all realistic at this point?
I mean, I would like to see the Grizzlies probably, because I think the Nuggets match up well with them, even though they can't stop Ja in any way, because they don't have a point of attack defender who can keep up with him. I don't think that they would be trying to try that one-on-one anyway. And the way the Grizzlies play ball, Joker would mob them, and the Grizzlies have had no time to prepare for it because he was out for the games that they played, and I don't expect them. It depends how much. It depends how much that game in next week matters. For seeding, like I actually expected them not to show anything to the Grizzlies, but now that they're in danger of like falling to the 6th seed or something, the 7th seed, now you're starting to wonder if you're going to have to play those games. Because if they had played well this week, they might have just taken those games off if seeding was set against the Rockets and the Grizzlies to end the season. Like, you don't want to show your hand. But right now, I don't think the Grizzlies have a good read on what the Nuggets would do to them. And so for me, I'd like to see that. But I personally don't care. And I've said all year, I don't care what the seeding is, get to the playoffs healthy. I've said that all year. I maintained that all year. Now the problem is they're still having seeding problems and they're not healthy.
And they're not
so like they didn't do the thing I wanted them to do in order to hit the playoffs, the right way. But I don't care about seeding. The Nuggets can overcome anybody's home court advantage. That's not concerning to me.
Hiding your hand in the first round, is that a good sign? Like if you have to do it for the first round?
Well, but originally I was thinking it was going to be a 2-3 matchup between the Nuggets and the Grizzlies as of 3 weeks ago. Then some injury things happened and that didn't work out. But really, like right now, we've seen how the Nuggets can go toe-to-toe with anybody. They took a couple off the Thunder. Like, these things, the only team that seems to really annoy them is the Timberwolves. And that's simply because the Timberwolves are unafraid of the Nuggets in any way. So for me, matchup-wise, I would prefer not to play the Timberwolves in round 1, if you could mind that. Let's not do a 4-5 against the Timberwolves. But otherwise, like I don't care. The Nuggets are going to go as far as the greatest player on earth is going to take them, and as far as the health of their other starters will carry them. So as long as Mike is okay and AG has some legs left and Jamal can run and score, like they'll be all right. They're going to be very terrifying to a lot of squads. I can guarantee you that Oklahoma City is not trying to get the Nuggets in a 1-8 matchup. They don't want that. I guarantee you that. Like, if there's a squad that does not want to get played in the first round, it would be somebody trying to get the Nuggets. Nobody needs any of that.
Yeah, it's not that it's not even at least for me. If I'm Oklahoma, it's not even like, oh, we can't beat them. It's more like we got to do this in the first round and then keep going for the rest.
It's annoying. Yeah. It takes more out of you. If you have a low gas tank, you want to find somebody that you can get past without going 7 games in the first round. And the Minnesota matchup would not be good for the Nuggets.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be. I mean it'd be worse than last year's. Last year was Lakers, and that took enough of like with all the messing
Yeah.
around that they did. They came to the Wolves series, and I don't know the seating. Yeah, the seating's hilarious because again, I don't know if this is like a single one like oh give me that team because
No.
as far as Grizzlies are sliding and there's enough concerns with them, but even against the Nuggets, I'm like that coach is awesome, and they have like if we're talking about Nuggets defense. One of the worst things this year that happened to them in the 2-year span, and they were never great at it. But I think when KCP came in and Bruce came in, and Jeff was there, like they talked at least. They started to talk during the season, and
They're
started
so
to
quiet
mesh.
on defense this year, man.
Yeah,
they're so quiet.
And the problem with the Grizzlies' offense, the one that moves a lot and doesn't do as many like screens. Again, it'll be good because we don't have really great screen navigation. But as far as like trying to read the defenders, and we don't have maybe the guys that are like great thinkers on their feet on defense, as they're not their second nature to do that. That would be also a crazy matchup too. I mean, I don't. That's the thing that's the problem this year because remember 2 years ago we were all like, yes, give me this team. I don't care about who it is in front of them. Like Phoenix, oh, they have Durant. Like who cares? Like we want all of them. Now it's like maybe we get the Grizzlies and then hope we can get the Rockets and maybe then you get to the third round if everyone's healthy. And like that's if you start doing that, like that there's not a championship team. Like it's like things will really have to go well for them in some weird way that they end up in the finals and have a legit shot to the title this year. And again, we talked about Miroslav. We were here like in September, October, whatever it was, like talking about like what's Nuggets this year, and I was like, I think they'll learn they're not gonna chase the first seed if they can help. Like if they're just not close enough, even if they're close enough, I was like they're gonna be 4 or 5 and try to get healthy for the playoffs. But now again, like it, and I think they try. Like I think they've tried to rest as many people as much as possible, even with Jokić missing games, and maybe MPJ probably took more and tried with Gordon, but again, there just doesn't seem like they're healthy enough, and that comes to the roster thing. Because if they try to rest some of these guys for like an extended period of time, like they're just gonna dip in the standings so far that it won't matter like who's healthy or not by the time end of April comes. So yeah, it's a downer podcast. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is. We knew it's gonna be rough in July when we saw all the moves the Nuggets made, that they didn't try to do anything bigger than what they did. It's a gap year number 2, I'm guessing, unless something miraculously happen and we see them. They would need to blow teams out. They would need to win in 5, like for the first 2 playoff rounds, to be able to stay healthy for 4 rounds of playoffs and survive all that. They just don't have enough guys to play 7 and
it's
then
possible.
7. Anything is possible, I guess.
I wish. I mean, that's why I'm hoping we're all wrong, and this was just like we can look back on this and be like, you idiots. Like, oh, that would be awesome.
I'm gonna look back when they flipped the switch. I'm like, yep, there's a switch. They found it. They flipped it. Like they're killing everyone. Why did I doubt them? Like, because I've been on the train all year that I think they could win a championship, not because they made the right moves, but because when you have the greatest player in the world, you have more leniency when it comes to not making all the right moves and pulling it off anyway. But and they already had Aaron Gordon on the team. They had Jamal on the team. The 3 key guys you need for the playoffs are already here. So it's really a matter of what can those 3 key guys do for you? How much have they got left after getting you through this year? And we're about to find out.
Yeah, we're going to find a lot of stuff out, and that will probably cause some decisions this summer.
What do you guys think they're going to end up at the end of the table, like standings? What do you think they're going to be in?
6 probably.
Oh God, no!
Just ruins Miroslav's trip completely.
I need them to be a top 4 seed so I can get game 1 and game 2 in Ball Arena.
Hey, if they win out this year, then you might get. They should be fine. If they win out, they'll be a top 4. You just need them to start winning some damn games.
Yeah,
I can't believe they're still 4. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
Who they have?
yeah.
Pacers, Kings, Grizzlies, and Rockets.
Yeah, the Western Conference is so funny because
Yep.
you can lose 5 in a row and not move, and then win 10 in a row and not move in the standings at all. Like because
Not move.
everybody is
Yeah.
winning and losing at the same time. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty good. Guys, thank you so much for spending an hour of your precious Saturday with me today. I hope we will have a great last 10 days or 8 days or whatever of this regular season, and hopefully we will have so much more things to be excited about by the end of it and by the end of playoffs as well. So here's hoping for that. And that is all I've prepared for you this week, my dear listener. And please, with the cherry on top, take the word prepared very loosely. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom. And until next week, a guy we played last week. Well, we actually didn't play him because he is only on a 2-way in Minnesota. Timberwolves, Bones Highland.